Okay, welcome to my final video of 2025. Today, we're going to talk about The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the book versus the movie. So, the book and the movie are both great in my opinion, and they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, but they're also really different. The author of the book, Stephen Chbosky, I think is how you say his name, was also the director of the movie, so they really did honor the book. But that being said, there are still a lot of differences, so let's talk about that. So the first difference is the fact that the biggest difference, in my opinion, is the fact that the book is entirely letters. Because the book is all letters written by Charlie. And in the movie, you actually see it happening. So that's the biggest difference, in my opinion. And I'll talk about how that makes a difference in a minute, but let's talk about some of the other comparisons. So in the book, Charlie seems to be more innocent and naive, whereas in the movie, he seems to be more socially aware. And what else? Oh, in the movie, his sister and brother have names, Candace and Chris. In the book, he just calls them my brother and my sister. But in the movie, they have names. In the movie, he seems to be closer with his parents. Like in the book, it's established that his dad isn't very loving, and his dad is cold and distant. And in the movie, his dad is kind of like that, but he's not as bad. So yeah, those are the main differences I noticed. So for the book, so like I said, in the book, the entire thing is just letters that Charlie's writing to himself. So everything that happens in the book, Charlie is telling the reader about it. And in the movie, you actually see it happening. So I think in that sense, I think the movie is a little bit better because I'd rather see it happen than just hear someone describe it. So yeah, and also because of that, in the book, it really feels like Charlie is the only important character because the entire story is him talking about other people, describing other people. But in the movie, it's easier to relate to see Sam and Patrick and care more about them as characters because you're actually seeing them instead of them just being described to you. So the movie's better in that sense, but also I feel like in the book we get more of Charlie's inner world because it's him narrating, so we see more of his thought process, we see more of his anxiety, we see more of his PTSD. So yeah, I think the book is better in that sense because he describes how he feels, and it's easier to understand what he's feeling. Plus, there's more details about his character. Like he talks about all his favorite songs and all his favorite books, and what he thinks of his friends and his teachers and everything. So, yes, the book is better in that sense. Okay, now let's talk about Charlie's family. So Charlie's family was pretty toned down in the movie compared to the book. Like I mentioned earlier, his dad wasn't as strict and distant. His sister in the book, his sister is described as being mean, and in the movie, she's not. She's a little mean. She's a little bit mean, but she's not to the level they described in the book. So yeah, so the family seems toned down. The mom in the book was described as quiet and didn't really speak for herself. But in the movie, they don't really talk about that. The mom's not really in it that much, but she's in it, but she doesn't seem as it's kind of implied in the book that she's not very happy with her life. There's nothing like that in the movie. She seems more loving in the movie, and yeah, she seems more happy in the movie. And then the brother's not really talked about that much in the book or the movie. In the book, it's established that he never really calls, and he lives far away in college. But in the movie, he actually comes home for Christmas, which happened in the book too. But in the movie, they talk more about it, and we see Charlie's relationship with his brother, and they seem pretty good. They seem closer in the movie than in the book. So there's that. But overall, there are a lot of differences. And so in the book and the movie, Charlie starts, because in the movie he does still write letters to himself. It's just not as often as in the book. But in the book and in the movie, he starts each letter with "Dear friend," and it's never established who this friend he's talking to is. And the author kept that anonymous on purpose because he wanted the reader to feel like Charlie was talking directly to them. So yeah, but in the book it comes off more like he's talking to the reader. In the movie, it comes off more like he's talking to himself, even though he is saying "dear friend." The movie version of Charlie, played by Logan Lerman, feels more like he's talking to himself. Because in the movie they specifically say Charlie doesn't have any friends. He had one friend who unfortunately committed suicide. Which, when I first watched the movie, I assumed that he was talking to his dead friend, Michael, who committed suicide. I assumed that he was writing letters to Michael. Because some people do that. They write letters to dead people. I do that. So I just thought maybe Charlie was writing to Michael. Because in the book and the movie, there's a scene where he says, I'm sorry I haven't written to you lately, but I'm trying to be normal. So that implies that the letters are to himself. Because if they were to an actual person, why wouldn't that be normal, right? So yeah, I think Charlie is probably just writing to himself. In the movie, at least, he's writing to himself. I don't know about the book. And another thing that was confusing in the book is Charlie says at the beginning, "I'm going to be describing these people with generic names because I don't want their privacy to be invaded." So does that imply that Sam and Patrick aren't their real names in the book? Because in the movie, their real names are Sam and Patrick. So maybe in the book, Charlie's using fake names, or maybe when he says generic names, he means like my sister and my brother, because that's what he calls them. Because when he's describing his family in the book, he's calling them my sister and my brother. So, but in the movie, they're called Chris and Candace. So maybe that's what he meant by generic names. Is his name even Charlie in the book? I don't know. But yeah, that was kind of confusing. So that's one thing I didn't really like about the book. But if everything in the book was in the movie, that movie would have been rated R. Seriously, there's an entire. I don't want to spoil too much, but in the book, there's a scene where Charlie talks about when he was in middle school. His brother was having a party, and a guy and a girl. His brother made him stay in the bedroom the entire time and hide in the closet, and a boy and a girl came in, and the boy took advantage of the girl while she was drunk, and Charlie was in the closet and he watched the whole thing, and he didn't really understand what was happening, so he didn't do anything about it, and he kind of describes in detail what he did to her, and I didn't really like that part, so I'm glad they left that out of the movie. Another thing they left out in the movie was they established that in the book, Charlie's dad slapped him once when he was 7 years old. And they took that out of the movie too, which is good because the dad's a lot more likable in the movie than in the book. The dad feels more like a stereotypical dad, even though, yeah, he's not very emotional. He feels kind of distant from Charlie, but in the movie, he's more like a stereotypical dad. Like, he makes dad jokes and he's like sitting on the couch reading the paper. So I like the dad more in the movie than in the book. The book, I don't like him very much. And then, of course, there's the Aunt Helen. There's Aunt Helen. What Aunt Helen did to him is more like it's never directly said what she did to him, but it's implied. And I feel like they go more into that in the movie because like we see Charlie's flashbacks, and we see we like it's pretty haunting, to be honest. We see like how haunting it is, what she did to him, and then the scene where the doctor is telling Charlie's parents what Aunt Helen did to him is also really sad to watch. So yeah, that's pretty haunting. But something that's haunting in the book, like Charlie, the fact that in the book you're reading letters that Charlie wrote to him. Actually, hang on, I'll show you. Hang on. Okay, sorry. So, here. So, like, uh, oh, where was it? Okay, so November 23rd, 1991. Dear friend, do you enjoy the holidays with your family? I don't mean your mom and dad, but your uncle and aunts and cousins. So it's like that. The whole thing is him writing letters like that. So you're basically reading letters that he wrote. And that could be pretty haunting in the book because like when he's writing about when he starts like writing an angry letter talking about like just like being angry, and then the next letter he's like, I'm sorry for my last letter, I don't know what happened. And then you're like, when he's having his PTSD flashbacks and he's writing about that, and he writes about how he woke up in a hospital, it's pretty haunting because it feels like it's happening in real time. Like you feel like you're reading this as it's happening to him, and that's pretty scary. And it's really good writing too, because they really do a good job of showing that. Um, yeah. So overall, what do I like better, the movie or the book? I'm gonna say the movie. I think I like the movie a little bit better, even if the book does. But the book does a better job making you relate to Charlie. But the movie does a pretty good job of that too. Like when you see him sitting by himself at lunch, or when you see him sitting by himself at the party or at the baseball game. A lot of Charlie's character, like a lot of scenes with Charlie, is like him sitting by himself. So you see that with his anxiety. And, I was a lot like Charlie in high school, and I'm still like Charlie. It's really sad to watch and read, but it's also helpful because then it makes you see that you're not alone. Um, but yeah, we see in Logan Lerman did, like I said this earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. He did a really good job playing Charlie. Like all of it feels real. The PTSD flashbacks feel real. The anxiety attacks feel real. And I can, as someone with social anxiety, I can really relate to Charlie. And so, yeah. But the book, like I said, the book feels like you're in in Charlie's mind, and the movie feels like you're watching it like outside. So it's like the book is like an internal thing, and the movie is on the outside. So think of it that way. Think of the book as Charlie's brain, and the movie as Charlie's actions. Because that's how book Charlie and movie Charlie different. They're both different, but they're both relatable. Book Charlie, you can relate to his thoughts. Movie Charlie, you can relate to his actions. So yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. What do you think? Did you see The Perks of Being a Wallflower? Did you like the book or the movie better? Talk about it in the comments, and see you next time. Happy New Year. Bye.